Hi there, it's Marion Herbertson, of course, from my home office. Today I want to talk about something that seems to affect quite a lot of people who have their hearts set on, making it in the online marketing world. And that is a question of, is your spouse unsupportive or is your partner unsupportive of what you do? Now, obviously that comes from very many different backgrounds, and in some cases, some people are just unsupportive, full stop, It could be because they don't understand it, etc. But I want to talk about really good partners, really, people who are very supportive and everything else, etc. And why they could possibly be being unsupportive with what you are currently doing. Okay, and I'm talking out of pure personal experience here. Now, first of all, I want to just clarify this. My husband is 100% supportive of what I do, though it sometimes gets on his nerves that I'd rather sit here talking with you than, talking with him, really. All right. But, I just want to explain the process that we work through. Now, you see, when I first started, he'd always known that I wanted to do something online, etc. Now, I have always been a very independent sort. He's always been a very independent sort. We've always known that the other one would support the other one in whatever it is they chose to do, even if we didn't fully agree with it. Okay, we've always known that. That's how we've always been, and it's been brilliant, in that respect. Though there have been situations when obviously we've not agreed with one choice or the other. But because we respect each other and, we respect each other's opinions and views, we may be a little bit skeptical or a little bit anxious, but at the end of the day, the main emotion, if you like, is supportiveness. Okay. Now, also, I will say when it comes to me saying supportive, I don't expect my husband to stand there every minute of the day and tell me I'm doing brilliantly or pat me on the head if things go wrong, etc. And that is where I went wrong initially. For example, many of you know my story of the difficulties we've been through, etc. And in the beginning, I would insist on telling my husband every single little frustration I had. And of course, when you're just starting out, your frustrations are a lot more than your successes. Okay, so he learned to actually just dread me coming to tell him something, because it was always, some kind of complaint about my computer's not working, so and so said this, or I'd be in a bad mood, or I'd be very tired, and all those kind of things. Okay. So in his mind, he began to associate online business with me being in a bad mood, which meant, or tired, etc., which meant he suffered. All right? So it was simple as that, and I had to learn that if this is something I wanted to do, then I had to take responsibility for it. Okay, I had to kind of very gently explain to him, listen, babe, I have a project to do. I'm going to be missing for the next couple of hours. Or now that this is my full-time job, he pretty much knows that to treat it like a job. Okay, now I know my friends don't do that, they kind of will pop in or call me any old time of the day, because bless them, as far as they're concerned, Marion is at home, I can drop in whenever I want to. That's something I've had to kind of educate them very gently on as well. But as far as my husband's concerned, he knows now that this is a job, right? I treat it with the seriousness and the consistency and the commitment that I would do with any job. This is what brings in more of an income than I would do if I was working at a job. So therefore, he is quite happy with me working the hours I work, etc., etc. Now, the other thing I always make it a point of not doing these days is discussing all my problems with him. Okay, at the end of the day, you've got to be very careful when you choose to do that. You've got to kind of look at yourself and say, why am I telling this other person this? Do I expect them to solve my problems for me, or am I expecting advice from them, or am I just offloading? Okay, now I was neither expecting my husband to solve my problems for me, because obviously he couldn't, right? He doesn't do what I do. He doesn't have the knowledge I have. So that wasn't the case. If I needed advice, I would pick very carefully the things I asked him advice for, because obviously he would see it from a point of view where he was protecting me. So if it happened to concern any person who was kind of being, difficult to manage, etc., my husband would naturally pick up for me and ask questions later. So his advice really on that situation wasn't unbiased. Okay, so I learned to not do that. If it was concerning finances, as long as it fit into our general or our joint view of where we wanted to be going financially, I was pretty much, he considered me pretty much responsible enough, and so did I, to not have to discuss every tiny thing with him. So the only thing that had left was, and I did find myself guilty of this, and this is what caused most of the trouble, that the only reason I was telling him my problems was to offload. Okay, now there are two very wrong things with that. Number one, it's not fair on your spouse, or definitely wasn't fair on my spouse, right? Secondly, it was a really bad habit. It was lack of maturity on my part. Now, you may not be wanting to hear all of this from me. I do apologize, but just think about it, right? If all your partner or your spouse is hearing from you is negative stuff, what do you expect them to think long term? Initially they might be excited, or maybe they've had bad experiences with online marketing in the past, or they've heard friends and family saying this kind of thing. So all of that coupled with your tiredness, maybe your bad moods, your frustration, etc., is going to cause a bad atmosphere altogether. So what I've started doing is, as I've grown and as I've matured in my role, I don't share with him the frustrations. At the end of the day, there's no point in doing that. It's just getting it off my shoulders and onto his back. That's not fair, especially when he can't do anything about it. But what I do is I tell him all the positive stuff. Okay, so every time we get a nice chunk of money turning up in the bank account, he loves that, of course. Very surprised by it, loves it. He's getting accustomed to it now, right? We'll always make it a point to go out or treat each other and do things like that, so that my work is associated with positive stuff in his mind. And ever since we've been doing that, I found, that the atmosphere is just so much better, so much more pleasant, and I'm enjoying it so much more. There's now that kind of give and take where he knows what to expect, he knows what I'm working towards, he can see the fruits of my labor. But even in the early days, what I would do is a lot of my work was done after he and my children went to bed, so that they were never impacted by anything that I was doing. So think about it and work according to that. First of all, let them know that you're doing it for them, right? And then don't make it a burden on yourself, on them, or your family. Make it something that is a positive experience, and it'll grow from there. Okay, if you are already in a situation where it's pretty tough in respect of supportiveness, etc., forget about it. Okay, just learn to let it go. Okay, they've obviously got that impression for a reason, may even be totally unreasonable. Okay, that's fine, that's not your battle. Get on with what you are doing, and I'll tell you what, when they see the zeros being added to the numbers in your bank account, their attitude will change. All right, so don't expect anything to begin with. A very well-known author. Oh, I wish I remember the name. No, it's not coming to me. Maybe I'll put it down on the blog somewhere else. But basically, he said, be absolutely prepared to lose all respect from your family and your friends when you first start out on this journey called online marketing, because very few people actually understand what it's all about. You see, a lot of us are still entrenched in that old model of, getting a good job. Danny Johnson says, so what? If things get on top of you, that's fine. Put on your big girl panties and get over it. Okay, so whenever things get a little bit too tough for me, I always remember that and I think, okay, I have a reason, I have an aim, I have a goal and a vision. It's my dream. Very difficult for someone else to understand my dream. Okay, they didn't have this dream. It's my dream. How can they understand it fully? Okay, and on those grounds, once the positivity starts coming through, you will find that the support levels from around you start rising. Okay, I hope that's helped you in some small way. All right, thank you so much.